Thank you all for being here. My name is Alex Padilla. I have the honor of serving as your United States Senator. And so now to formally start our program, I'd like to invite Tricia up on behalf of the Discovery Cube Los Angeles to let you know why we're here, and not at CSUN, and not at Mission College, because it's a great reason.
Well, welcome everybody. My name is Tricia Muse. I'm the Director of Community Relations for SoCalGas, but I'm also a proud Discovery Cube board member. So I'm really happy to welcome you here today. And thank you to our dignitaries for being here. So impressive, and love the work that you're doing. So you may know that we also have an Orange County Discovery Cube. So starting with our Orange County location, and then here in LA since 2014, the Discovery Cube has made a positive difference in thousands of lives for 35 years. We offer hands-on science education that delights, challenges, and encourages kids. Our organization achieves this goal through 4 core initiatives: STEM proficiency, early childhood education, environmental stewardship, and healthy living. I invite you to check out our newest exhibits if you haven't already, including the Cube Studios, Trains, and most recently, Emotions at Play, with Pixar's Inside Out, the first interactive exhibit based on the award-winning film, which helps visitors young and old understand the important role emotions, memory, and imagination play in our everyday lives. I can't think of a more critical time for mental health care, and I'm glad to see the advancements in raising awareness, thanks to people and organizations like Angela's, and improving care and reducing the stigma so often associated with mental health issues. On behalf of the Discovery Cube board and leadership, we are honored to partner with Fundamental Change to host today's 4th Annual Mental Health Symposium, Moving Forward Together with Purpose. Thank you so much for being here today, and I'd now like to introduce our event MC, award-winning journalist, NBC4's Today in LA, and news reporter, Miss Michelle Valles. Michelle.
Thank you, guys. What a beautiful place. I discovered Discovery Cube. So this is nice. I'm so glad we're here. When I rolled up, I saw a lot of the kids, and that made me so happy because that's what this is for, and that's who this is for. So I'm happy to be part of the Fundamental Changes Annual Symposium as we look to inform and empower the community with information regarding mental health. Before I introduce our speakers, I do want to share a chance to tell you that I had a chance to meet, of course, the senator and Angela a while back. We sat at the same table. First off, I was just like, gosh, she's so pretty. Okay, I'm just being honest and real. But then we got to talk about our stories, and we shared a lot, and some personal stories of our loved ones going through things. But I also, it really touched me because I, too, have a personal story. We all have stories, right? And I was on board early on with eradicating mental illnesses and stigmas. You know, early on in my career, we're talking 12 years ago, when I was going through some things. And I say that because I remember when I was going through so much, and I kept it all in. And I had a career, and I had this and that, but it was a lot of childhood trauma. And it was a lot of things that happened that I thought, I knew they weren't my fault, but I kept it inside. And it just keeps growing and growing and growing till you do something with it, or till something happens. Usually that's the case. But it was that journey that I went on that allowed me to get some tools. I needed tools. And I had sometimes your family isn't your biggest support system because they don't know. Well, I mean, that's why the secrets exist, right? Don't tell anybody and all that. But when I met friends who were in programs like this one that had started out, and this was back in Austin, it opened my world because I finally wanted the help. And I finally realized that asking for help is a strength, not a weakness. And it's that message we need to keep passing to people, to kids, to our family, because when you have the tools, you can do something. And what I've learned about is this is a lifelong journey. But I've gotten this far through friends, through tools, through resources, to realizing it wasn't my fault, but I now have the power to do something. And it's when we share those stories is when it matters. When I started sharing my stories in the news and back in Austin when I was there talking about this, it was very personal. But you should have seen the emails I got. Hundreds of people. I got this going on. I got that going on. It was like the floodgates open because we all can connect and relate. This morning, I have a little doggy. I don't have children. I preface that because it's a lot of work with the dog, and everyone thinks I'm a saint with a dog in a wheelchair. I'm like, I don't have kids. It's a two-person job. But thank you. And I was giving her daily walk in her carrito. And this lady, a caretaker with her client, 80 years old, who was my neighbor, but they sold the house, so she wanted to show her what the house looks like. And so here's a caretaker to a caretaker, and we didn't have to say anything different, of course, but we both have empathy. And she was telling me her story, and she said, I got into this because my son was autistic, and I saw the need. And I said, isn't that something? We get put on a path for a reason. And Angela, your path or what you dealt with as now or as a young daughter put you on this path. And where I was put me on this path speaking here today. And so I get goosebumps because things are going to change. And we can talk about this without those stigmas. So Angela, Senator, thank you so much for having me. Didn't you win twice, Senator, just recently? What, right? So congratulations. So thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me to speak that too, because I think sometimes sharing that allows us to keep sharing our stories. So I encourage you to keep on. Just keep opening up your heart. Now I'd like to introduce our first presenter today, Dr. Jose Cardenas, born and raised where? In the Valley, the San Fernando Valley. Dr. Cardenas is a licensed clinical psychologist. He has presented and been published for his research on the needs of immigrant children and school violence. Oh, wait, Senator, time out. Oh, yeah, I was wondering where Angela was going to fit in the program. Angela, why don't you cut in? Oh, wait, I forgot to introduce you. Okay, please welcome the founder and president of Fundamental Change, Angela Padilla, and her husband, United States Senator Alex Padilla. Can you forgive me? Thank you so much. I was like, when are you going to speak? Do I just thank you? It was right here. I missed it.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Michelle, thank you. And thank you so much for sharing your personal story. It takes a lot of courage to do that, but it's so incredibly empowering. So thank you so much. Welcome, everyone, to our 4th Annual Mental Health Symposium. This year's symposium couldn't come at a better time. I know that the last 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic have been hard for everyone. We've all felt the impact of the pandemic, the health impacts, the economic impacts, and yes, the mental health impacts. We've heard so much about stress, anxiety, isolation, and grief. I see it as one of the silver linings of the pandemic that more people are acknowledging the importance of brain health and well-being. As we have for nearly 5 years, Fundamental Change is here to do our part to advance awareness, understanding, support, and care. I thank the Discovery Cube for inviting us to hold our symposium here this year. It is not a coincidence that the symposium coincides with the debut of Emotions at Play, their new exhibit focused on emotional well-being. I hope you enjoy and get a lot out of today's presentations. We encourage you to share the information and lessons from today with your family, friends, and everyone around you. As we all work to recover from the pandemic, the more we each commit to taking better care of each other, the better off we'll be as a society. I'd like to thank Joe Adams and the entire Discovery Cube LA team, the Twins PR, Southwest Airlines, Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health, Luminarias Institute, SRD Straightening Reins, the LA Trust for Children's Health, Altamed, and all of today's speakers and volunteers. Thank you all again, and please enjoy the program.
Don't worry, Michelle. Angela does forgive. We've been married a little bit more than 10 years now. I assure you she does forgive. I, too, just want to take a moment to say a couple things. Also, a thank you to the Discovery Cube and the entire family. I used to be on the board here. Had a little something to do with it being located here, so it's near and dear to my heart. And, of course, to all the volunteers and Angela's colleagues on the board. Javier and Carol, her board members, are here. They've been, since day one, part of the mission, part of the cause. I want to keep the program on track, so I'll be brief. I'll share one more thing. We heard from our colleagues, so articulately, Tony in the House of Representatives, Luz in the State Assembly, Nuri, leadership here on the City Council. So they shared with you what the state is doing on mental health and what the local needs are and priorities are when it comes to mental health. Well, let me just reassure you, in my new role in the Senate, working with my colleagues from across the country, as we talk about not just the COVID-19 pandemic, but without naming names, the political environment that we've found ourselves in over the last 5 years, to think that I go to work every day in a place where there was a deadly insurrection not that long ago, and now you hear people worried about inflation and prices, and there's a lot to be thinking about and be worried about. So even at that national level, we know that this is important, this is a priority, and the way we can strategically invest in supporting families across the country, including right here in the San Fernando Valley, is by talking about it more, learning about it more, sharing our stories, so that we put the resources and support exactly where it needs to be. So today's symposium couldn't come at a better time, and we'll kick it back to RMC, Michelle Valle.
And I think this was streaming live too, right? Shucks. All right. Yes, we encourage everyone to keep sharing your stories here as we get going with this program. I'm going to make sure I'm in the right spot here. Hold on. Yes. Okay. You might have seen him earlier. We're so excited to introduce Blake Bolden. She is a former National Women's Hockey League player and current Los Angeles Kings Growth and Inclusion Specialist and AHL Scout. She is going to share her personal story. You may see some Kings jerseys out there too. She will share her personal story and the work that she is doing to shed light, share stories, and inspire the next generation. Let's welcome Blake Bolden.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thanks for welcoming me into your community. I am not from this valley. It is hot for me. My hair is frizzing. But good afternoon. Thank you, Fundamental Change, for hosting what I already know and feel to be an incredibly insightful day of learning and sharing. My name is Blake Bolden, as mentioned, and I feel very privileged to stand here representing the Los Angeles Kings. Fun fact, 10 years ago today, the LA Kings won their first Stanley Cup. Yes. You can check out the amazing exhibit in the Discovery Cube upstairs. But as this program's theme is moving forward together with purpose, I truly believe one of the greatest tools to moving forward together is to share each other's stories. Through storytelling, we can choose to open our minds and connect with those we never knew. We can heal, we can inspire, or be inspired. We can become more together with understanding even a little bit more about one another. So I'd like to share my story with you. I started working with the LA Kings in January 2020. Not that long ago, obviously, a little over 2 years, and definitely an interesting time to start a job. But a job that if you asked me 6 months before that, I would have told you, no way, not possible, and what are you talking about? To work for an iconic hockey club, the Los Angeles Kings, as a pro scout, the second woman in the National Hockey League, and the first woman of color to do so. Thank you. I often pinch myself, and I think of the days when I was just this young girl from Cleveland, Ohio, learning the game. Falling down, getting back up, and as you can imagine, all of the peaks and valleys, the highs and lows to get to this point. And even still, I am climbing, I am falling, and I am learning. Hockey was the vehicle that I used as a child to ground me, to bolster my confidence, and to challenge my character. Without even realizing it, I used it to ultimately find myself. I was 6 years old when my mom, who was a single mother, introduced me to her boyfriend at the time. He just so happened to work part-time for a local hockey team as a security guard. So he'd take me to these games, and I was an only child, so it was like going to an amusement park for me. Because of his job, it allowed me to get all of these accesses to the tunnel, and sometimes I'd even get to go down into the locker room, which you probably couldn't do that now, and see the players. And they looked like these gladiators in all of their equipment. I watched these players skate so fast and hit so hard, I heard the crowd cheer so loud that I was hooked instantly. One day I turned to him and I asked if I could play, and with excitement, he took me straight to that Play It Again Sports, and we collected all of the secondhand equipment that we can find. I had a hockey stick that was way too long, hockey pants that were extremely short, and skates from a different generation. But I didn't care because I just wanted to look like the gladiators that I was enamored with. I was a very shy kid. I only spoke when I was spoken to. I never really made too much of a fuss. But with hockey, I found this new sense of strength in my pads and confidence in the speed that I could muster up on the ice. I felt free, and I could express what I was feeling inside on the ice. Soon, I began to get comfortable. I started to excel very rapidly. I began to play travel hockey with one of the best boys' teams in the state. I was the only girl on the team, and I innocently told my mom one day that I wanted to be the first Black woman to represent the United States in the Olympics for ice hockey. That was the biggest goal that my teenage self could imagine. I grew up playing this predominantly white sport, and unfortunately, I never saw anyone of color playing with me. I used to turn on the TV and watch Jerome McGinley, a Black player, but even still, he was a man, and I never saw any women. When I said that, my mom and her boyfriend, they worked their tails off. They had numerous jobs to afford all the lessons in sleepaway camps and hotels and tournaments. I was fortunate to attend and get a scholarship to a prep school in Lake Placid, New York, and be recruited to play Division I hockey. I found myself being the only person of color in this school for 4 years straight. I ignored it. I kept going. The abundance and hard work continued to pay off for sure. I got that full athletic scholarship to Boston College, and my childhood dreams seemed to get closer and closer. And eventually, I landed tryouts for the national team and won 2 world championships. So Sochi, Russia, 2014, that was my year to be an Olympian. Unfortunately, I got the call after I graduated from BC, Boston College, saying that I would not be centralized. I was cut from the team and the program indefinitely. My heart was shattered. I felt like I had failed. All my parents' efforts, their money, their time, everything I put into that goal was lost. I spiraled into deep depression. I had no sense of direction, no drive. I was in my early 20s, and I lost myself. I took some time to sit in my pain. I saw a therapist. I leaned to the ones closest to me until I had this startling intuition that my hockey career was not over. In place of the Olympics in 2014, I was the first Black woman drafted in the first round of the CWHL. In October 2015, I became the first Black woman to play professional women's ice hockey. I started to see young Black and brown girls around 6, 7, 8 years old coming to my games, staying after for autographs and pictures, because to them, I was that professional athlete that they saw themselves in. I think one of the greatest gifts to discover and receive is to find passions in the things that you're doing and to find wholeness within yourself to continue to do those things. But in order to do so, there must be challenges, road bumps along the way. On this journey, I've had smaller struggles and bigger ones. And each time, there was definitely a lesson that I learned. At times, I found it very confusing discovering who I wanted to be and who I was becoming. As a young girl, even throughout adulthood, I found myself changing the way I spoke, or I would ignore ignorant comments and gestures that were made to me because of my differences. And definitely the heartbreak of what I thought was my biggest failure later turned out to be my greatest gift. I am grateful now to hold a stake in the game, not only to continue to push the boundaries of this sport as a woman and as a person of color, but to give back and hopefully open doors for those who are even just a little bit curious to peek inside. So, as a short reminder, we never fail, we always grow. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Blake. That was beautiful. Just so honored to have you underneath this tent here. Welcome to the Valley, baby. Oh, so nice. Now I'd like to introduce you to our other presenter for today, Dr. Jose Cardenas. Finally, huh? Born and raised right here, where? In the Valley. Dr. Cardenas is a licensed clinical psychologist. He has presented and been published for his research on the needs of immigrant children and school violence, among other areas. Please, let's give a warm Valley welcome to Dr. Cardenas.
Okay, thank you. It was all planned. It was meant to be, right? Who is this guy, finally? Well, I am a graduate of San Fernando High School. So we do other professional things besides politics. But not to say that that's not vitally important, especially right now when we need people that make sense, right? Make sense and have compassion and are not just about the bottom line, about money. So good afternoon, buenas tardes a todos. This is primarily going to be in English, but I might throw some Spanish here and there because that just happens. So my title of my brief 15 minutes that I'm going to crunch in here is Be Strong, Acknowledge and Express Your Emotions, right? So what do I mean by that? Well, we have the Pixar thing and various emotions that they have there, but there's various emotions. I'm going to break it down to 4, but then there's 8. Healthy is sadness, anger, fear, and joy. They're just healthy because they just are, right? There's different times that we feel all these different emotions. However, we'll get into it later of how sometimes we say, but it's bad because it feels bad. No such thing, right? It's a question of, is it healthy? Is it healthily expressed? Does it make sense? But extremely unhealthy versions of these same emotions for sadness is depression, where you think about not getting out of bed, not showering, maybe ending it all, right? And rage, especially at innocent people. We don't need to talk about what happened in Texas, right? It's like, so that's rage, right? And anxiety disorders, anxiousness, etc., PTSD, and then severe panic attacks. So, and then joy, well, what's the extreme of that that's unhealthy? Mania, bipolar disorder, persons that are in that state. But if you get into a 7, 8, 9 of these, it's like, okay. But if you get into a 10, as I call it, and I rate it, then that's usually a blackout state. People who are in that space, whether it's for a few minutes or 3 days, they won't remember it. So they're not lying when they say, no, that didn't happen. I didn't do that. I didn't say that, because it didn't register. Just as a person who drank too much or was given something, right, in their drink, and the next morning it's like, where am I? They don't remember anything because it was in the 10 space, right? So, and we can do that just with our own neurochemistry that's in there. So that's, momentarily that might happen, or might happen for a while. So that, and momentarily as well, where we can be in shock, so we can't move, right? You can't do anything. You can't. Emotionally, we call that a dissociative state. You're gone. You're idle, right? You're actually watching this thing happen to you, right? And that's how we also protect ourselves emotionally, because of that emotional and physical pain that we might be going through at that moment, or we might be imagining it to even be further. So that's quick psychologist talk here, and then I'm going to go more into, let's be common sense and make sense to you as parents, to you as family members, so that we can break the stigma that we're about, and do something that's healthier, but we're not used to doing it because that's not what we were told. And that's still not what we hear by a lot of very well-intended people that didn't get the training, right? So as I mentioned earlier, feelings are not good or bad. They just are labeled as such, right? So similar to our sense, like, of smell, it smells good or bad. Well, that depends on the person, right? Like, depends on if you like perfume. There might be a perfume that somebody walks by, it's like, you're like, oh my gosh, right? Others like, oh my gosh, where did you get that, right? All right, so, or, oh my gosh, how can you work with horses? Because they're wonderful, right? But for somebody else, it's like, oh. So, or food, right? I love various foods, but Mexican food, because my mom was so good. I'm sure like your mom, right? And cilantro. And some people, oh, cilantro. It's like, who are these people? Right? And again, something aside, people who agree with us, they're smart. And people who disagree with us, no matter their intellectual level, are what? That S word, right? Mensos, or the P word, right? So, in Spanish. Esa bandera que tienen? All right. So, I need to smile and keep it positive, or I'm going to get in trouble, okay? Example of emotions being labeled as good or bad. Be strong is normally a good label, right? To be strong, right? You're a very strong person, physically and mentally, right? The hockey player. I would not do that. So especially we say that when we're around a person that has experienced a loss, like a death, right? Right? Be strong. They'll tell the person, or they'll tell the persons around them. It's like, be strong for your mother, be strong for your father, right? Indicating that if we cry or shed tears, we're labeled as weak, or doing something that's unhelpful, right? You're going to make that person cry. So at a funeral or a wake, people often ask, right, because there's a lineage and there's those flowers and there's the front row of the family, right? And then you're like coming around, you don't even want to be there, and they ask the other people before they get there, what do I say? ¿Qué le digo? Right? And then they're told, oh, say, I'm so sorry for your loss, right? When it actually would be more helpful and appropriate instead to show emotion, like just hug them, right? And especially guys in the evening, when the wake is in the evening, right? And they have those dark glasses, take them off so they can see that you were crying, or that you're affected, right? That's how you say, I'm sorry. We are going through this together, right? So, very important, because they can see the sincerity in your movement and in your face, right? I'm with you in your pain. Estoy contigo en tu dolor. And that's probably what the person will remember, because again, as I said, that state, for about 2 weeks, when somebody dies that's really close to us, we don't remember a lot. just like for another positive thing, for those of you that are still married, okay, when the wedding, do you remember all of it? You were there? They were there? They were there? Well, there were 500 people at our wedding, and she didn't know most of them, so I don't even remember them. But, but even if it's a small Anglo wedding, you might not remember everybody there, right, for the 2 hours that they were there, right, versus the next day. And then they stay a few more weeks because they're from another country, right? So, of course, they have to, all right? So examples of holding back or denying the painful emotions and unintended consequences of holding back these feelings because we're being good, right? Good children, good family members. I had a client who came to me. She was 58 years old at the time, Black American woman who was from another part of the country. But at age 27 to 29, she told me about she was afraid of dying at age 29, but it already started at age 27 because her mother died of cancer when she was 8 years old. So that stayed with her. And she was, because she can identify, it connected so much with her mom. It's like, I'm going to die like her when she did. Okay? Or another client I had who was 21 years old. Luckily, he got to me really quickly because his sister got him in to see me, and she was referred by her because he was showing clear PTSD symptoms, and he was afraid. He's 21, and his best friend died in his arms, shot at a party. And he was afraid he wasn't going to make it to 21 or make it out of 22. Right? Now, those of you that have been to the graduate school for mental health, have you ever heard of this? Raise your hand if you have. They don't teach it. Right? They don't teach it. It's not in the books, but it's real. Because years ago, I talked about this in Chicago. Went to see my sister and did a talk, and I asked, and they put their hands up. Right? So another case, mine. I was 12 years old. My brother, age 16, died. He drowned in Rosarito. Our family's having a great time. He was my favorite brother. I'm one of 5 boys. And we do have favorites, just as parents have favorites if you have more than one, even though they say they don't. Okay? Meaning you love them all, but it's different, and it better be different because they're different, right? So I have 3 boys, and I don't love them the same because they're different. He does that, the other ones don't do that, okay? So, but I was fine, right? I told people I was fine. I did everything, and I looked really good. I was getting good grades. I was going to go to college, and I did. But throughout my whole age 16, I was afraid I was going to die. You couldn't tell. At San Fernando High. I was getting good grades. I didn't talk much. I was very cooperative. But I was afraid, is it going to be today? I stayed away from the water. I still don't know how to swim. I'll learn, right? So I didn't let anybody know. And even though in graduate school you go to therapy, you go to all these different things, and I had all these therapists, and they never asked me either about that and how it affected me or whatever. So even us professional people, we always need to learn more, okay? So to you parents and all of us, be courageous and show your strength by showing your emotions, as others have said. It's almost like we coordinated this, right? We're speaking the same language. Be human. Show that it is human to cry, to tear up. Give permission by example, right? Because the kids or the other people, they notice much, much more what we do than what we say, right? They're watching. They're watching all the time. So it takes strength to acknowledge emotions. It takes practice to learn to emote healthily. And that's, again, a part of what we're dealing with. If you grow up in a family where there's a lot of violence, or in a community where there's a lot of violence, which is a lot of, I grew up in Pacoima, it's like you see a lot of examples of unhealthily expressed anger and rage sexism, right? So, but there are also the other examples of anger and rage that are healthily expressed. Why? Because they're combined with love and compassion, right? That's why I feel really, really good when my nephew, who's a LA County sheriff, is at our house. Not just because he's an expert, he didn't realize that he was an expert pistol shooter, but because I know he would do anything that's correct only if it were necessary, right? That's who you want when you call 911. Just like who do you want when you call next month 988? People who know what they're doing, right? So we need to do that to break the stigma of showing emotions at challenging times and to no longer respond with, I'm fine, when you're not fine, right? But that's what people also, we know that that's what they want to hear, right? Oh, you look so great, da, da, da. You haven't lost weight, but they say you have, and it's like, and it's all that stuff, and say, but how you doing? And you know they want to hear, fine. ¿Cómo estás? Bien. Even though, as I was speaking to somebody other, it's like they know that somebody really close to you just died. Instead of asking, how are you doing with this, right? ¿Cómo estás? And then showing in your face, I'm sad for you. I'm feeling empathy. So it gives them permission, because we read other people, right? I knew that I needed to be strong for my parents. My dad had already lost his favorite son. I was okay with it because it was my favorite brother. And it was hard to get along with my older brother. So it made sense. And I didn't want to burden him. I didn't want to burden my mom. And that's what so many of us deal with. These kids that don't want to burden their parents, so they tell us. And they, of course, don't tell their parents. Not because they don't love them, but because they love them. Not because they don't respect them, but because they respect them. Right? But it's kind of at an interesting angle. So when we cry, do not apologize. When you tear up on the mic, politicians, do not apologize. And Tony doesn't. I think I might have told this a long time ago. Okay? So, Tony cries a bit, if you notice. He's a chillon. He's the youngest. He's the baby. It's like, no, he's a very strong man, yes. Apologizing for crying reinforces the incorrect idea that you're doing something that is wrong or that you are being weak, right? So like I said, I've been licensed since '88, so I've been doing this for quite a while. I don't allow my clients to apologize for crying in front of me. I correct them, okay? I don't say don't cry, right? But I invite them to show appreciation for my listening and for my providing a safe place where they can emote healthily, okay? So that's why, even though we haven't been doing this since March of 2020, right now it's all Zoom, but when we're in my office, they would sit there and I'd sit here, and in between us would be a little table. And on the table, I'd have Costco-sized boxes of tissue, right? And they would apologize, I'm sorry, I'm using so many tissues. It's like, I got more. It's like the chips. See in the hallway? I got more boxes. So that's the idea. And that's how also I would a lot of times measure, are they getting better? They're breaking through, they're unloading, right? Se están desquitando, se están desahogando. Okay? I let them know I appreciate them being vulnerable with me. And for many clients, they say, I've never told anyone this. I promised myself I never would. Right? Nunca le he dicho esto a nadie y pensé que nunca me permitiera decirlo. Right? I learned this when I worked for a brief time with some persons in the elderly, ladies in their 80s. And they told me things they'd never seen or spoken to a therapist, much less a psychologist. So they love calling me doctor, right? And they would tell me about their pain and their difficulty and their losses and those terrible things that I corrected them and say, that was not a marriage. I don't care. That was not a marriage. He was not a husband. He was not even a man. It doesn't matter that he reproduced, but he wasn't. And they're like, you mean I can hate what he did? And who he was, or who he said he was? So, right? And so usually when they do this, is followed by them sharing that they feel a sense of relief, right? Me siento desahogado. They feel like they drop something off their shoulders, right? Because they tell me about all these terrible things that happened to them. So there's a timekeeper, right? How much time do I have left? Oh my gosh. Real fast. I'm gonna get real anxious. No, I'm not. So we have anxiety and depression, right? And we have all these different things. And so we have some things in here, right? And there's those boxes over there, so make sure you take some. And we have these fidget toys. Well, it has the insert that says when a toy is not a toy. It's for therapeutic reasons, so that they can do something to acknowledge and release that anxiety, that tension, right? As well as, so like popping these things, just like the spinners that a few years ago were really, really popular. And so when you release that, after you release that, just as my clients would tell me, after you release that, then you can say, right now I feel fine, right? And now you can actually really, truly experience joy. Not the fake one that you get out of the pill or that activity or that whatever, that for the moment, even your brain says you're good, but you're not good. You're developing an unhealthy habit, right? So that's important. And we have these cards in there that, say how to use these and, how it's therapeutic, right? Because therapy is important. So because we want calmness and joy are the desired consequences, right? But we need to express our anger, our coraje, right? At it, perhaps not even at the person, but that it that got into them, that it is the depression. It is the pedophilia thinking, right? It is the addictive thinking. It is the extreme racism. It's an it. Because they weren't born with it. They were taught it, right? So being able to be angry at that thinking, that mentality, which also helps you not feel so bad because I'm not being a bad person because I'm told I'm to love everybody. Well, you can love people and hate what they do, right? It's like our literally little kids. You guys are parents? How many of you are parents? It's like, and your kids, if you haven't, at some point they tell you, I hate you. You don't love me. You love them more than me or something like that. They mean it, but it doesn't mean that they mean it. They just, right then, they're just really mad. But they love you, right? And they say, I'm sorry, on the other way. So it's, again, so that we can express these different emotions so that we can then say, I'm fine and mean it, truly. And so today I'm giving you permission. El Dr. Cardenas, you can quote me on this because sometimes people misquote what their therapists tell them. My therapist said that. It's like, no, they didn't. Or you interpreted it that way. They didn't give you permission because I know that therapist and they don't speak that way. I trained that therapist and they don't speak that way, okay? So to be strong, to truly be strong yourself and those around you by first acknowledging whatever emotion it is, right? And second, by expressing your emotion healthily, okay? Healthily. But stop holding it in, let it go, let it out, and ask for other ways. You're welcome to go to our table. We have some therapists there. How many therapists are here from Luminarias? See, they're here. You can ask them questions. And it's okay if you say, I have a friend. I have a friend. Yeah, I'm asking for a friend. All right? So it's okay. We'll give you something. This is not therapy, though. This is just some tools for your friend, okay? And then you can call, right? And for your friend about talking to somebody further. And I'm out of time, right? Okay, so thank you all for being here. Thank you, Angela, and everybody else.
Thank you, doctor. That was great. I like how you differentiated the words like for instance, like good and bad. I had to teach my significant other. He might be actually cleaner than the senator. He's super clean, and he used to use right and wrong a lot. And I said, there's not a right and wrong way to clean. It's a different way. And sometimes that works. But doctor, thank you for giving us hope. Hopefully people don't wait till they're 80, right, to confess something so harmful. But I can say through my own work and through my own discovery that it's not a dead end. There's hope. I grew up with a very violent home, almost watched my mom almost get killed by my biological father that was the least of it. Then he left, so there was that abandonment issue. And so what I come to find out was I was the healer of my family because I was the one who did the work. And when you do the work and you work on yourself without the codependency, but they do this, no, you do your work, it shifts the family. It shifts the friends. It shifts everything. Codependent No More is an amazing book. If you ever need a reference, that will change it. But you got to do the work. So there's hope. And that was great what you shared, Doctor. So now I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Dr. Alejandra Acuna. Dr. Acuna is Associate Professor of Social Work at California State University, Northridge. Her research interest has been the resilience of youth and families from low-income communities. And Dr. Acuna has worked in health and human services for over 30 years, including providing training and evaluation for the Los Angeles Unified School District. Let's welcome Dr. Acuna.
Good afternoon. It is so good. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today, talking about self-care for parents and caregivers. So first of all, conocimiento. My name is Alejandra Acuña. My pronouns are she, her, and ella. My parents were immigrants from Chihuahua, Mexico, donde no tenemos pelos en la lengua. I was born and raised not in San Fernando Valley, but I have worked in San Fernando for a long time. I was born and raised in East Los Angeles, Tongva territory. My daughter just turned 21, and she is a rising senior at NYU. Those are my credentials. That's why I'm here. I earned my graduate degrees from UC Berkeley and UCLA, and as was mentioned, I'm an associate professor of social work at CSUN. So when I was asked by Fundamental Change to present on self-care for parents, my heart immediately said yes, because I've been wanting to write a love letter to parents and caregivers. John Bowlby, a psychologist and psychiatrist who helped us understand the attachment bond, once said, if a society values its children, it must cherish their parents. So dear parents and caregivers, right here and far, near and far, dear parents and caregivers, we cherish and treasure you. Let me repeat that and really take that in. Dear parents and caregivers, we cherish you and treasure you. Your labor of love raising children is important to our community, our comunidad, and to society. And you matter too. So the last few years have been a lot. And I want to share with you some science-based strategies to calm and relax our bodies and our minds. So we think clearly and we make better decisions as parents and caregivers when we're calm. So brain science teaches us that we need to feel calm and safe first, then feel connected to another person before we can think and learn. And so this is really important. First, safe and calm, then connected to another person before we can think and learn. And this is important for us as parents and caregivers, and obviously important for our children as they learn. So let's practice. So I'm going to invite you, if you are able and would like to stand, I invite you to stand. We're going to do a couple of exercises. The first exercise is 3 deep belly breaths. So if you've done yoga, then you're an expert. The first time you do this, it might be a little challenging, but when you breathe in, you're going to breathe in so deeply that it goes past your chest, past your diaphragm, into your belly. So your belly will blow up like a balloon, okay? So nobody's watching, nobody's going to tag you. Live stream isn't focusing on your belly, so feel safe to let your belly grow, okay? Ready? Take a deep breath in. I'm so glad you can't see my belly from here. And out. Como una globo desinflado. All right, take a deep breath in and out. So if you really breathe deeply and feel the extension of your belly, it's almost like a belly massage. So one more time, let's take a deep breath in and out. Okay, so stay standing. I'm going to invite you now to do a progressive muscle relaxation activity. So make a fist with your hands, squeeze them really tight. Take a deep breath in while you hold that. And relax, shake out your hands. So notice the difference between tense and relaxed. Let's do that with our arms. Make your arms like you're making a muscle, squeeze and hold and breathe. And relax. Shake out your arms. Let's bring our shoulders up to our ears. Squeeze and hold. Oh, do you feel that tension? Breathe. Oh, and shake it out. Scrunch up your face. Hold it and breathe. And relax. Stay with me, parents, caregivers. I want you to squeeze your pelvic floor muscles. I said it, pelvic floor muscles. Squeeze and hold and breathe and relax. So you can do your entire body this way. As you can see, it takes not even a minute. And do you notice the difference? The tense and the release and the breathing? Okay, so that's your tool number 2. We've been talking about toolkits. I love that. So this is your third one. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. If you feel comfortable doing so, you don't have to. It's just to minimize distractions. So I invite you to close your eyes, and I invite you to imagine a time, recently or far away, where you felt really, really good, where you felt really, really happy. Imagine that time. Or it could be a place. Maybe it's on your bed or the couch or the beach or the mountains. Imagine a place where you feel really, really good and safe and happy. And maybe it even makes you smile just thinking about that place right now. And notice what you see, what you hear, anything that you touch or smell or taste. And just notice how you feel in your body imagining this place where you felt really, really good and happy and safe. And remember that this is your place, and you can come back to this place anytime you'd like and feel this good in your body. Okay? So that's 3 now, yeah? So we're going to do a 4th exercise, but I need 2 volunteers. So where are my volunteers? Love it. Okay, I promise this is not embarrassing. This is hopefully will feel good. 2 is good. And thank you, Angela, for the lemons from your lemon tree, yes? Okay, so here is a lemon for you and your lemon for you. So I'm going to model for you what we're going to do. So I don't know if you're grandmothers or mothers, depending on where you're from. Maybe you have a sense of what this is. This is called a barrida, a brushing with a lemon. So a lemon brushing. Maybe you've seen your mothers or grandmothers use a huevo, an egg. Maybe you've seen them use herbs like romero, rosemary. So we're going to do this for you. And you can sit, by the way. Thank you for standing. So we're going to do this as good behavioral scientists, meaning we're going to do this with an open mind, no biases, and we're just going to observe and record. What is your body feeling? What images come up? What sensations, etc. Okay? So we're going to start with taking the lemon, and we're going to, I smell it. You don't have to smell it, but I smell it. Oh, the other thing is this lemon barrida is described by Trotter and Chavira, 2 researchers. They interviewed about 60 curanderos in southern Texas. And so this is how they described doing this. And I'm actually going to take off my earrings because they described no jewelry while we do this. I'm gonna hold to that. Okay, so we're going to take the lemon and we're going to start brushing our head with the lemon. So start brushing your head with the lemon, the top, the sides, the back. Just brush and then your neck, your face, The lemon is still a little bit cold. It was super cold when I first got it. Feels so nice. Your chest, brush your chest, your arms, your hands, your palms, your axilas. So we're just brushing our body with the lemon. And then if you can reach your back, your behind, your belly, your legs, feet. And if there's any part of your body that feels tense or tight right now, then it needs special attention, go there. Okay, beautiful. So I just want to say that there's a study that was done on self-body brushing, and it says that the intentional use of touch can produce pleasant sensations, relaxation, reduce pain, and generate feelings of calmness under stressful conditions. But I'm going to invite you, ladies, is this one on? Yeah. So I'm just going to invite you to share whatever you're feeling. Hello? Oh, yes. Go ahead. Just whatever you're feeling, or whatever you felt while doing it, or whatever you're feeling now, and whatever you feel comfortable sharing with the group.
I mean, it was a little relaxing with the cold lemon. Not really sure.
It felt pretty silly, especially with all these people watching. But it wasn't bad, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So the instructions are, if you do this at home, you're supposed to do it for 3 days. So today is Saturday, so you do it again on Sunday, and then again on Monday, and then dispose of the lemon. And thank you, young ladies, for being brave, coming up here, doing something new and different. I do this with students, graduate students. I do this with parents. I do this with different workshops. And it's amazing. I collect lemon stories. And so people have told me that what they feel is refreshed. One student said that he scratched the lemon and then could smell the zest, and it helped, taking those deep breaths helped him to sleep better at night. So there's so many beautiful stories. If you follow me, I post lemon stories. But I just want to leave you with one more thing. I got the hook. Surrounding yourself and your children with supportive relationships and regular calming activities can help your brain and your body to feel calm. And that's something we all need right now. We can all relate to that. In fact, taking brain and body breaks throughout the day, even 4 minutes at a time, can prevent blow-ups and power struggles. So you're thinking, I don't have 4 minutes. Yeah, but you don't have 2 hours for that power struggle, do you? So let's do the 4 minutes a couple times a day and prevent the 2-hour power struggle. Because right now, the truth is, nobody's getting off, we're all feeling stressed. We're all feeling overwhelmed, overloaded, parents, caregivers, and children. And then I wanted to say to our parents, when our children are shut down, upset, or stressed out, their behavior isn't a reflection of their love and respect for you. Let me say that again. Their behavior when they're stressed out is not a reflection of their love or respect for you. Although as I say that, this, my alter ego says, yeah, but when your daughter does it, the spirit of Irene, my mother from Chihuahua, comes out and he's like, oh, se atreve. But that's why I told my daughter, I got my LCSW just to be your mom. I've learned so many tools. So knowing this, knowing that they're being stressed out, they're being worked up, is not a reflection of their respect or love for you, then we can find ways to bring the arousal down. And we can share things that our abuelitas taught us, because our abuelitas did this. And we're like, oh my God, abuelita. And now she's like, boom. There's a study, you're telling them about a study. How about me? You can tell them about your abuelita, you know what I'm saying? So abuelita says boom, like I told you. So the question for parents and caregivers and family members and individuals is, where can you sprinkle 4 minutes of body and brain breaks throughout the day? Throughout the day, just sprinkle them in, just remember. And then the last thing I want to say, I keep saying the last thing. So Bruce Perry, he just wrote a book with Oprah, What Happened to You. He talks about how patterned, repetitive, rhythmic activity is one of the most helpful ways to move children from stressed to calm. So walking, dancing, running, drumming, tapping, singing, breathing, movement, and music. So literally like salsa right before dinner, or whatever, wherever those moments are that's like those hot spots in your day. And he says, and this is so beautiful, he says the reason why rhythmic, repetitive, patterned activity is soothing is it because it reminds us of being in our mother's womb, when we could hear her heartbeat, and we felt warm, and we felt safe. Thank you.
God bless your mommy, Rene. I love Chihuahua. I'm from El Paso, so I know all about the accent. And I love the lemon stories. I keep a pink crystal with me at all times. It was given to me by my coworkers. So we all do these things, right? Like wake up to Native American flutes. I go to bed with Native American flutes and wake up to country gospel. So I'm like the total American there. But it helps. All those little things help throughout the day. I really believe that. And I am a daughter of Christ too, so I'm like, I got all that going on, but these little things help. I'm going to leave my rock up here for our next speaker here, who I think, where am I? Oh, there's all these notes. Okay. Oh, wait. Where's the script? Ah, there it is. Okay. So our next presenter is Franklin Romero. Mr. Romero is a native Angelino who earned his bachelor's degree in social work from Cal State LA and his master's in social work from USC, a Trojan in the house. After working with children and families at Children's Hospital Los Angeles, he came to work for the county at the Department of Mental Health. He provides counseling, crisis response, mental health assessments. He does it all. He also serves for the Department of Children and Family Services as an emergency response children's social worker. Let's give a nice warm welcome to Franklin Romero. I'm going to keep my rock right here.
Hello, everyone. So, I want to begin with acknowledging that the past 27 months have been some of the most painful times many of us have lived through, whether it was the loss of a loved one, whether it was financial concerns, or even something seemingly as simple as not being able to attend someone's graduation or walk the stage. But it is important to acknowledge that pain. During these turbulent times, with everything happening in our world and our neighborhoods, even the simple task of dropping off our kids at school can become very worrisome to all of us. Our healing journeys may look different for each one of us, but showing that vulnerability and acknowledging our mistakes can help model for our kids that we ourselves are a work in progress. Mistakes lead to valuable learning opportunities, and it helps our kids feel connected to us. It's not about perfection, it's about reflection. So give yourself the permission to make mistakes and reflect how you might want to do things differently the next time that you do catch yourself maybe yelling at your kids, maybe wishing that you didn't have kids. In the work that I do at the Department of Mental Health, I work in suicide prevention, and in that, we focus a lot on listening to the person who's in pain, who's experiencing these thoughts. And it can be really frightening to hear yourself say that you're not doing well when so many other people depend on your well-being, like your children, loved one, independent adults. But it is about being gentle with yourself and realizing that we are all a work in progress and that we're trying to do the best that we can with what we have. And this is why I want to talk to you about taking care of yourself. In a world where we are trying to survive and push forward through the pain and the discomfort, we know that ignoring our emotions is not healthy. Sometimes these emotions and feelings surface and easily losing our patience, right, with our kids or our loved ones, and feeling overwhelmed at work or overwhelmed because our commute got longer because there's events going on in LA. But what we do know, again, it's not about being perfect. It's about reflecting on what we could improve. So there are many ways to make these small changes, and it's important that we try to take care of ourselves so we can take care of others. It's not about perfection, it's about reflection, picking ourselves up, dusting ourselves off, and figuring out better ways of how to handle things that next time that something may come up. One of the simplest things that we do in the Department of Mental Health when we work with people in crisis and we're working and teaching people how to be better, we talk about gratitude. And I know, that's kind of like a buzzword. A lot of people talk about it. But the thing is that it could sound more difficult than what it is. But I know I have to practice gratitude every day that I get up, and I have to hear very hard stories and deal with things that go on in people's lives. But something as simple as buying a journal or a notebook from the dollar store, and at the end of our busy day while we're in bed, we could, put our electronics away, turn the TV off, and make sure that we are able to look at the entire span of our day and find 1, 2, or 3 things that we're grateful for and writing them down in the journal. And what we do know is if our mind starts to shift to how horrible our day was or how difficult our day was, or maybe how our kids had, a complete meltdown at Costco and everybody's looking at you, giving you that judging look, that we catch that thought and we shift it and we could say, tomorrow is a new day. Tomorrow I know I could create more gratitude or gratitude that I could find, and it's okay. And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's just about reflecting on how you could become better. So shifting gears a little bit, I do want to talk about some resources that will be made available to you, I believe on the website, for a fundamental change. And many times we talk about kids having their phones on them 24/7, but I know that as adults, we also have them on us 24/7. So there are 2 applications that I do want to talk about that are free to download. They're available in both English and Spanish, and I always encourage our younger generations to work with the older generations, our grandparents, our parents, to teach them how to use these applications, right? Because if, our tías and our abuelas could use Face, that means they could also use some of these applications to help calm themselves, right? To help ease some of the anxiety that's going on. So the 2 applications are Mindful USC and UCLA Mindfulness, and both have meditation exercises in English and in Spanish. So a lot of times I know that there are applications out there that are, most of the content is in English. So when you are trying to work with, bilingual household, that may not work. But these applications have exercises that you could try in the day or even at nighttime right before you go to sleep. When we're putting the kids to sleep and we have that alone time, we could definitely use those applications. Another application that I do want to bring up that's also free to download, it's the Virtual Hope Box, which gives people the opportunity to download it for free. That one, unfortunately, is only in English. And that application helps distract our minds, and there's inspirational quotes, there's relaxation techniques, and how to develop new coping skills for anxiety and stress. As a therapist, as a licensed clinical social worker with families and children, I strongly believe that what we teach kids, like what I'm teaching kids in therapy, is also something that parents need to practice at home. So for today, I want to review the Calm Down with Take 5 breathing technique, and it will be posted on the Fundamental Change website. And so it will look like this, and it's available in English and Spanish. So this exercise, really what it does is you don't have to have this piece of paper once you try it. So we're gonna all go ahead and try it. So what I need you to do is go ahead and stick out one of your palms and make like a star. Thank you, Senator. Thank you. And when we do that, we're gonna use the other free hand And what we're going to do is we're going to use our pointer finger, and we are going to start at the base of our palm. So when we slide our finger up, we're going to go ahead and take a deep breath in. Once we get to the tip of the finger, because most of us are adults in here, we're going to hold our breath just for a little bit. Then we're going to slide our finger down, and we're going to release that breath. We're going to go ahead and do the same. It's almost like, I tell kids, almost like when you have that Thanksgiving activity and you have to draw the turkey, you're going to be tracing your finger, your palm with your finger. So let's go ahead and begin. So I'm going to slide my finger up. I'm going to take a deep breath in. Slide it down, breath out. Slide up, breath in. Slide down, breath out. Slide in, slide up, breath in. Hold it, slide down. Go ahead and do it again. Slide up, breathe out. One more time, slide up, breathe in, and then breathe out. Things like this that we do, we don't need, to buy expensive gadgets. We don't need things that could add to the cost of, what our living expenses are right now. So I do know that we just did that exercise pretty quickly, and the instructions, again, are in English and Spanish, so you could practice that at home. But I know that when we do breathing work, a lot of times I hear people say, it feels weird. I feel like I'm out of breath, just like I am up here right now. But it's natural to take some time and try to regulate your breath. And that concept of regulation can also be applied to other parts of our lives. And the second thing that I do want to talk about is self-regulation. And so another thing that's going to be on the website is this, how to self-regulate. And it's available both in English and Spanish. And the important thing about this is that self-regulation is the ability to monitor and manage our energy, our states, our emotions, thoughts, and behaviors in ways that are acceptable. The reason that I bring this up is because many times we tell our kids, don't do something, but we're yelling at them. Like, don't yell at me, but we're yelling at them. So it's really important to catch ourselves. And what the handout really does, for example, like for anger, when I'm feeling angry, it's telling us to pause, to be able to think clearly so that we could respond rationally instead of reacting. So this, again, is available in English and Spanish on the website. In that journal that I talked about earlier about gratitude, it's also important if we're going through things that we could journal our feelings, our thoughts, so that we could talk about our frustrations, fears, and the struggles that we're dealing with. And what we do know in the Department of Mental Health is that connection is key and helping us heal, helping us feel heard, and helping us not lose that sight of what is important to us, our family. So please remember to be gentle with yourself, and that it's not about being perfect, it's about that reflection. And, just don't forget to check out the website for the resources, and that was pretty much it. So thank you very much.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Franklin. We like that, huh, Angela? We were like, already falling asleep, calmed us down. I got to go do the news in a few hours. So, okay, well, our next speaker, I got to know twice during the pandemic and with the vaccine and over at his office. And I was very hesitant with the vaccine. I'm just going to be open. And he walked me through, he talked to me, and it was at your office I got the vaccine. It finally came through. I was one of the late ones. And he was able to talk to me, and I saw how he really cared about his patients there. And so I really liked your approach. But I also got some free headphones there. I just want to be totally honest and open. Our final presenter, Dr. Ilan Shapiro, he serves as the Medical Director of Health, Education, and Wellness for AltaMed. He previously served as a Medical Director for Behavioral Health, and he remains a tireless advocate for healthcare equity with a deep affinity for innovation and public health policy. Let's welcome Dr. Shapiro. As he puts on his white coat, so cute. Thank you, Doctor.
Can I use the other one? Familia, I'm going to probably move this one out over here. Is it hot? It is hot, right? I'm coming here, first of all, as a physician. And most importantly, como un papá, as a father. We have all heard regarding that thing, regarding COVID-19, and I really have good news, and I hope that you remember this. We are not right now in 2020. We are not. We have been waiting and we were praying before on a miracle, on something that actually can protect us, and something that actually can make a difference. And we waited. 1 year passed, and it was hard, right? And I can tell you for sure, me as a physician on the first line, a couple miles from here in East LA, where it was actually one of the epicenters of all the horrible things that can happen to a community. Probably more than 40% of my own patients, and I'm a pediatrician, when touched directly by COVID-19, and one of their family members was directly dead because of it. Then the struggles, not just of the medical stuff, but the depression and anxiety that I started seeing with my kids and my family members, con las abuelitas y los abuelitos, was devastating. Then from one side, we were fighting to make sure that we were safe and creating barriers between us and the virus. And from the other side, we were approaching more depression and anxiety as a byproduct of a lot of the things that we were doing. And what's the connection between right now the topic that I'm going to be talking about regarding vaccines and mental health? Let me tell you why. As a father, my mission is completely to protect, the same way as many parents that I'm seeing here, to protect our kids from harm. 100% of the time. We'll give our own lives to defend them. We will give absolutely everything here for them. When we started hearing about COVID-19, they stayed home. They were alone. There were a lot of byproducts. But right now, because we're not in 2020 and we're in 2022, we already have a lot of more information on how to protect them. And it's not only one answer, it's many answers, and we need to make sure that we are aligning them. That way we can connect and create a better future for them. Then a lot of parents, when the vaccine came to me, and I was probably one of the first physicians here in the US from the first 50,000 in January to actually get vaccinated, we had the data, we had the information, and I jumped in. There was not a lot of choice. People were getting sick. I'm a doctor. It's like soldiers. You need to be there. And for the first time, I understood soldiers and firefighters that actually run to the fire instead of running away from it. A luxury that, I was not even going to think in my brain. I needed to be here with my patients connecting. And I needed a shield in order to protect myself and not bring any presents to my own kids, right? But right now it was changing because it passed for a year and I felt guilty because I was actually vaccinated and I couldn't protect on that way my kids. Then we started hearing, well, it's coming. The vaccine is coming for my kids. And suddenly, bam! The miracle that I was working and searching for my kids was there. Was I nervous of the vaccine? Of course I was. Anybody likes any type of medical procedures here? Oh, exactly. Thank you. Exactly. Anybody likes to draw blood or take, anything or pills? Of course not. Nobody. I had the same feeling for my kids. And familia, it's normal. It's perfectly okay to have questions. It's okay to have that feeling of, oi, I don't want to see my chiquito llorar. I don't want to see my little kid cry. We're not geared for that. And I needed to make a decision, and that's the story that I want to tell you today. How I actually moved forward and chose to vaccinate my kids. And it wasn't because I was a pediatrician. I assure you 100%. It was because I was a father, and I'm a father. The process was simple. Am I more afraid of COVID-19 or anything else to defend them? And you need to see the numbers, right? And at the beginning, no, don't worry. COVID-19 is like a cold for kids. They jump out. They do that. But me as a pediatrician involved in the American Academy of Pediatrics, I was not seeing that. I was actually seeing kids that ended up in intensive care unit with a lot of issues, and most importantly, with prolonged COVID. And after 2021, when we started hearing that thing about Delta and Omicron, and we started hearing all this alphabet soup of Greek letters, it changed for kids. They were going out. They were not at home. They were going to schools because we wanted them to be at school, and we wanted to protect them. And part of it was making sure that they had everything in front of them. Then they went out, and I needed to see the numbers. Then I knew that that was not a simple cold. I knew that there was complications, hospitalizations, and thanks God the mortality rate, yes, it's very tiny, but still kids have died because of COVID-19. And I started putting that part. And what I saw with the vaccine, I saw a couple of things. One of the things that I don't know, most of us love our kids, right? Would you survive another year with them in your home? I'm not going to answer that question. We're streaming, but and probably my wife is seeing me. then it's important that we know that they need to be at school, and we need to protect them, and need to give them all the tools that they want for that part. And I needed my kids to be there safe. Then I had the choice to do the vaccine, and let's go deep inside of the vaccine. First of all, I needed to make sure that it was safe. That was the first thing. Why? Because, maybe it's effective, but safety, Today, in 2022, June, we have vaccinated millions of kids. It's clear, yes, there's side effects, and the most common ones, and we need to talk about it and be truthful with the parents that need to make a decision of this. There's pain on the arm, redness, fever. But I can tell you for sure that most of my kids that actually got vaccinated, including mine, they were running and playing football, fútbol mexicano, fútbol, no, soccer, translation, half an hour afterwards. And they were at school the next day. And most of the kids that we are seeing right now on Children's Hospital and other places, our kids are not vaccinated, the ones that are getting all the complications. And they were healthy kids. It's not that part. Then we started seeing all this stuff, and it was like, okay, I'm seeing that this is not a cold. I see all this list of absolutely everything that it's actually cringing, and I see here the part of mental health, protecting my kids and making sure that, they need to be in a safe space. The answer was clear. That I needed to put my feeling aside, look at the evidence-based information that we had there, and make a decision. I vaccinated my kids. They have been doing amazing. They are aligned right now for their booster. And every time that I talk with a parent and they tell me, doc, I have been waiting. And they're waiting for the doctor to jump to their neck and go like, no, you need to vaccinate. No, familias, no. We need to open our heart, hear them, because they are concerned parents that actually want to have a conversation with a doctor, with a medical expert, and have that conversation, the one-to-one, on making sure that we are connecting. Then the first thing is, and I tell the truth, I understand. I was there with you. I felt the same pain that you're feeling and the doubt right now. But let's put that feeling, because sometimes when we are afraid, and we had a couple of doctors here, and they would not let me lie that much, that when we are afraid, it's survival mode. We feel that we have a lion behind us, a shark, and we need to swim faster and move faster, but we're not thinking. We're just feeling. Then we need to have that feeling validate what we know right now. Thank you for the extension of 30 minutes. And we have, all that stuff in front of us. There's no lion now. There's no shark. We have time to talk. Then the first thing is, it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to have doubts. It's not okay to grab misinformation from outside and try to make sense and justify your feelings. That's not okay. It's not okay to reply and send forward a lot of crazy stuff that we have here with La Abuelita and el WhatsApp list, and el Instagram, and el Twitter, el Facebook channel. We actually need to have that conversation. And I share with them that it's important to take the next step. And by the way, the next step could be many things for each of us. Some of them come actually afterwards with their, con el esposo, con el compadre, con la comadre. Some of them actually come back with the husband and with friends, and to have the conversation. That's okay. But this moment we have seen the difference, familia, of actually protecting our communities. That still, we have 30% of kids vaccinated between 5 and 11. We are seeing all these things that are happening to our community. Communities of color have suffered endlessly right now. We have seen family members, schools diminish, maestros, maestras, teachers, they have been there for us and for our kids. This is the moment that we need to act. It's not 2020. We have heard right now about ACEs. ACEs is something, and I'm going to give you a quick feeling of this. We have all been through trauma. We carry it on the shoulders. Right now, with something that actually can give us a little bit of relief, making sure that our kids are safe at school, doing their thing. There's that thing about education and something about the valley here, then the high school that everybody came from. But there's a lot of information out there that we can proceed to connect. Don't be afraid of asking questions. We need those questions. Don't be afraid of going to your doctor and asking them, I'm really afraid. I do not understand. Was it fast? It took 20 years to actually develop the vaccines that we have. That was not fast. And we can actually talk about it. Tell me about the side effects. I gladly will talk to you about the side effects. And that's why the efforts that we are creating here to connect mental health and a better, bright future for our kids, it's important, and it starts now, today. We cannot separate, well, this is my COVID brain, and this is actually my mental health brain, and this is my social. At this moment, we need to start changing and making fundamental changes in the way that we're connected with our communities. We need to put the passion of all the familias, all the parents, all the mothers, all the abuelitas, all the grandparents and grandmothers to fight for our kids. And the best way to do this is give them the tools to protect themselves, the tools to actually be happy, con los compañeritos, with the little friends. And most importantly, being present, because this type of mental health summits are the ones that actually not just progress the mental health, but also the future of our generations and kids. And if you have doubts, conversations, make sure that you go to your pediatricians. We're here, your doctors. This is the moment that we need to continue vaccinating our communities against fear with a dose of truth. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you, Doctor. Okay, now we're getting ready for our keynote speaker. Yes. Wait, what happened here to the notes?
Bamba.
Oh, yes, please.
Para bailar la bamba.
Okay. Oh, my goodness. The script is not here. Let me grab my... We're going to save the best for last? Just because of all that time we had to tap dance. Thank you, Doctor. Now I'm very pleased to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Sofia Mendoza, an innovative systems level collaborator with over 20 years experience as an education leader in the Los Angeles Unified District, LAUSD. She's received numerous recognitions and awards for her work in computer science education and digital citizenship. Please welcome Sofia Mendoza.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation. So earlier I heard everyone, giving out their receipts. So 30 years ago, I walked across the stage at San Fernando High School. And it's just such a blessing to be in your presence today. And before we get started, I do want to share with you some things that are some resonated so much with all of the previous speakers that have come before me. I, too, have experienced trauma throughout my life, but at the time, it wasn't explained as trauma. It was, that's how things are. You just get up and you keep moving, right? We just keep moving. It wasn't until I saw myself not doing well for my children. I was on that fast track. I was going to go to the university, start my career, get married, have my children. And yes, I accomplished that, but along the way, I wasn't taking care of myself. And throughout that journey, I ended up burning out. It wasn't until, so many factors were there. I didn't see them. And it took, and I'm just so glad that I was able to turn to my partner, my husband at the time, and say, I'm not well. And he supported me 100% to take a step back, to examine what I needed to do to be well for myself and be well for my family, and to be that mother that I had always dreamed of being. So I just want to share a little bit with you that, and I'm happy to at another time share more with you. Something else that happened to me that has led me to this place today is that I had, at some point in my career, I had received, this was about maybe 10-ish years ago, I had received some anonymous emails that were very threatening to me. And this was way before all the social media platforms were extremely popular, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle it. So I went on a mission. I said, there has to be something better. If I'm experiencing this, how are we going to support others? So that really started me on this journey that I'm going to tell you a little bit about today. I want to share with you some strategies that you can take with you in this digital world, this parallel universe that we are living in today. My pronouns are she, her, and ella, and I also want to acknowledge the land that we are on today. We're gathered on the traditional land of the Fernandeño and Tatavian people. I had the opportunity to meet with some of their elders a few months ago, so I wanted to make sure that I pay my respects to our elders, both past and present. Now, along my journey in my career, I was also a fourth grade teacher right down the street here at Haddon Avenue Elementary School. So some of the activities that we're going to do today are reminiscent of my time as being an educator. So I always like to start out with something called an inclusion activity, an activity that brings us all together. I want to start by acknowledging that we are the first generation that will raise families in both the digital and the physical world. We're going to also build communities in both the physical and the digital world. To wrap some context around this once-in-a-lifetime generational experience that we are all collectively experiencing together, I'd like for you to think about the very first experience that you had with technology. So think about that. Whether it was in school as a student, maybe it was in the workplace, or maybe in your community. What was that first experience with technology? So go ahead and tell the person next to you. What was that first experience? The first thing that comes to your mind. Don't overthink it. You can tell me. Learning DOS. Okay. Fantastic. Well, you'll hear. Great. I'd love to hear out. I heard earlier DOS, someone was a in high school, at San Fernando High School, they were programming in DOS language. Anything else? We're all family, we're all friends here. The Oregon Trail. How many of you resonate with the Oregon Trail? Computer programming, yes? Yep. You're a gamer. I can tell you're a gamer. Oh, I heard somebody say Atari. Oh, floppy disk. Oh, Fortran. Great. And as you think of more, we'd love you continue to share with one another. Now, I want to tell you about my first experience with tech. It happened when I was in the 3rd grade at Telfair Elementary School. All right, got some tigers. For me, that experience was when my 3rd grade teacher, I'm going to date myself, so you said the 80s, it was in the 80s as well, when my 3rd grade teacher brought in a Radio Shack TRS-80. You can Google that. It's a real thing. Radio Shack TRS-80. Oops, my watch is talking to me. She brought it in on a Monday. We're like, what is that? Like, we didn't have these technological devices in our homes. She brought it in and just said, go play with it. It's plugged in, see what you could do. She's like, I don't know what to do with it. So a group of us got together and we started creating code. We didn't even know we were creating code. We were like some of the first Latinos in tech, and we didn't even know it. We started to create loops, created code that said like 10, print, and then we'd hit run, and then it would make this like a heart or an X. This experience, my first experience with tech, really allowed me to gain some skills and dispositions that are still helpful for me today. I was able to build games. Someone talked about a floppy disk. We were able to save the games on the floppy disks for our classmates to play. What I didn't know then, that I know now, that this device really was serving as a means to an end for me. Like many of you, my first experience with tech really shaped my curiosity for learning, and it helped me to build skills and dispositions like critical thinking, problem solving, and iteration. Like when something doesn't work, we're still going to keep at it. And those skills transcend any type of device or platform that is here today or even on the horizon, because tech is changing so quickly. That Radio Shack TRS-80, that computer wasn't even connected to the internet. The internet, it existed, but it was not accessible to the public in the early 80s. Now, in 2022, we live in a connected world. Wherever we go, we are connected to the internet. We're living in two worlds. We're living in the physical world and the digital world. The physical world, of course, it's where we live. It's the playground that we take our children to, go to on the weekends. It's that grocery store where we wait in the 10 items or less line. It's our neighborhood where we take walks, ride our bikes. It's the world that our caregivers raised us in at the turn of the last century. Our children are growing up in a digital world, and I like to call it a parallel universe. We access it through computers, tablets, smartphones, wearable devices like smartwatches, and virtual reality headsets. Our dual citizenship of these two worlds allow us to toggle between these worlds seamlessly and without even realizing it at times. Many safeguards and practices are in place for our well-being here in the physical world and empowerment in the physical world, but not so much in the digital world. Surprisingly, we as a community have put little effort into making sure that our next generation is prepared to be safe and, I want to mark this, empowered when we are living in the digital world. As a mother of a preteen, she's 10 and she's like, Mom, I'm a preteen, and a teen, 13 years old, preparing our next generation of digital citizens is extremely personal for me. Because at the turn of the next century, my children will be in their 80s. What we do today will have an impact on the next 3 generations. So, time is of the essence to ensure that we are all, each and every one of us, are prepared digital citizens, where collectively as leaders, we serve and become positive digital citizenship role models for our communities. You might be thinking, okay, so what's a digital citizen? A digital citizen is one who practices cultivating a positive and authentic, I want to mark that, authentic digital footprint that can be leveraged for college, career, and community success. So, who's in with me? Anybody? Anybody? Who's in it? All right, good, good. So, are you ready to serve as a positive digital citizenship role model for our children, our youth, and our community? They're looking to us. Are you ready to serve? The work of raising children and youth to thrive in a digital world, it cannot be done alone. It's going to take all of us. And there are 3 Gold Star organizations leading this work. Because, we can't do it alone. We have to look to experts in the field. They are leading the work of Digital for Good, leading it locally, nationally, and internationally. Locally, right here in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Unified School District has created a digital purpose with presence framework. This work can't be done alone. And what does LA Unified have the best of? We have the best teachers. We have the best educators. We have 25,000 educators. So we have recruited all 25,000 educators to become positive digital citizenship role models. As an education leader myself, I was very fearful of sharing my digital presence in public social media spaces. I would think, well, would I get in trouble for sharing my personal thoughts and learnings? And in speaking with other educators and leaders, I found that I was not alone when it came to wanting to leverage my digital presence for good. Simultaneously, and it was great to see Nuri Martinez here because she was on the LA Unified Board at the time, where our Board of Education members, they charged us with creating the first empowering social media policy for students and adults. With input from educators, community members, we were able to curate a social media policy for all scholars and educators, where social media could be leveraged as an instructional tool and for thought leadership. We have so many experts in the classrooms and at school sites, which ultimately led to the creation of the Digital Presence with Purpose framework. It's a research-based process that supports positive and authentic engagements for leaders in social media spaces. And there's 3 big components to this. So if you're engaging in social media, here are some tips that you might want to take along in your journey as a thought leader. First, are you sharing knowledge? This looks like sharing information that you've learned from a credible and reliable source. It might be an inspirational quote that you heard from a keynote speaker at an event or conference. You might want to level up and practice in a live social media chat where you share knowledge about a topic that you are an expert on, followed by sharing evidence. This can be a photograph, an event that you attended with a relevant caption about your learning. It might even be a picture of a meeting or conference that demonstrates your further learning in a given topic that you are very passionate about. Sharing resources. Did you read an insightful article or book? Share your thoughts about it. Maybe you discovered a helpful guide or a video with others that others might be able to learn from too. Share it. Did someone's post resonate with you? Highlight their message and engage with them. Does your digital presence reflect sharing knowledge, evidence, and resources? On the national front, the not-for-profit Common Sense Media. This is an organization that is trusted for caregivers and families and educators. They have a plethora of resources, from app reviews to mini lessons for community engagement. Common Sense, if you haven't heard about them, they stand out for their Spanish language content for Latino families living and raising families in the digital age. They have an outstanding program that I've been subscribing to for the last 3 years called Tech Balance. It's a free service at no cost. They send you bite-sized text messages about how to practice healthy media habits at home and with your family. So if you'd like to sign up for Tech Balance, you can send a message, type in the word kids to 21555 from your cell phone. You can type in the word kids to 21555 from your cell phone. And I'm happy to share that with you again later. If you'd like to receive Tech Balance en español, en Spanish, envía un mensaje de texto con la palabra familia al 21555 desde tu celular. Otra vez la palabra familia al 21555 desde tu celular. I love it. It sends me great tips to remind myself it's time to put down that cell phone and have a conversation. They even give you parent prompting tips. On the international front, living in a digital world means that we are all global. The digital citizenship movement, it's not only happening here in LA, across the country, it's happening around the world. The folks at the International Society for Technology and Education, better known as ISTE, are leading the charge with digital citizenship competencies. And again, these are competencies that transcend platforms, that transcend devices. These are habits of mind. And there are 5. The first is be inclusive. We do that in the physical world. Let's continue that in our digital world. Be open to hearing and respectfully recognizing various multiple viewpoints and engaging with others online respectfully and with empathy. Number 2, being informed. Evaluate the accuracy, perspective, and validity of digital media and social posts. Number 3, engage. Use technology and digital channels for civic engagement to solve tough problems and to be a force for good in both the physical and virtual communities. This is the one I have a hard time with. It's being balanced. Number 4 is balanced. Oh, are you okay? Make informed decisions about how to prioritize your time. How are you prioritizing your time and activities offline and online? And rounding out number 5 is to be alert. Be aware of your online actions and the actions of others, and know how to be safe, but most importantly, create safe spaces for others online. In the book Digital for Good, author and CEO Richard Collada shares these 5 competencies for discerning between true and false information, how to treat others with kindness online, ways to use tech to strengthen family relationships and community connections, and when to exercise and create safe digital spaces for others, and understanding when and how much tech use is healthy. So I have a call to action for each and every one of you here. Digital presence with purpose is about engaging tech to make your community better. It's making your voice heard by public leaders so you can help to shape public policy. It is engaging respectfully online with others who have different beliefs than you, and learning how to determine the validity of online sources and information. That is our call to action. How might you cultivate a digital presence with purpose that shares knowledge, evidence, resources, that's inclusive, informed, engaged, balanced, and alert? As I end my time with you this afternoon, I cannot help but think about the 3rd grade students at Telfair Elementary, thinking about the youth here in Los Angeles, and the young adults across our nation and around the world. Let's ensure that they have the skills of digital well-being so that they'll become thriving digital citizens. And it starts with us. What will you do to be a positive digital citizenship role model? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sophia. That was great. That was great. I'm Javier Velasquez, and I'm proud to be one of the board members of Fundamental Change. I'd like to introduce Debbie Rocha, right over here. She wants to make a few brief remarks regarding therapeutic animals you see over here to your right. And by the way, they'll be here all day. Debbie.
I'll be 1 minute, I promise.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I was not expecting to speak, so I have a couple of keynotes, and my daughter has assured me to speak from the heart. So thank you, Angela Padilla, where are you, for being aware of your passion and making sure you always work from the heart. That's what's changing our community. Thank you, Congressman Alex Padilla, because every time I see you, I have to pitch something that I'm working on, and I want to drive that message home. Quickly, my story. I have 5 children. My oldest is 39. I lost my middle daughter to suicide 11 years ago. She was identified as a genius in 1st grade, was in college at 13. And she decided that she wasn't numbing herself. She couldn't feel the depression or pain anymore, and she parted. I decided to change my life, acknowledge my depression, because I am not afraid to claim that, yes, I am crazy enough to believe that I can be part of changing this world. I can help remove the stigma, and I can be boots on the ground to connect that family with the resources that they need. So before you leave, stop and pick up my flyer. I promise I will answer the phone after 8 o'clock if you tell me it's an emergency. Otherwise, I will not. And I will not text you before 8 in the morning, because my daughter and my kids are my priority, and I take care of myself first. I put my mask on so I can take care of all the families that work with us at SRD Straightening Reins. We provide equine-assisted psychotherapy. Everything we do is face-to-face. We have not shut down once in COVID, because I believe I was blessed to have someone who made a connection with me and changed my life. I, too, have a staff that's going to do the same thing for our kids and our families. I will not turn someone away. We are a nonprofit. I am flat broke personally, but I love what I do every single day. So if you know someone who needs assistance, please reach out and I'll connect you if I can't get you the services that you need, because we are going to change this. A brain-based illness does not mean that you can't be part of changing this world. I promised I would be brief, so thank you, SRD Straightening Reins.
Thank you, Debbie, for the work that you do. Okay, well, we've reached the end of our program. We hope you've enjoyed today's event and found all of our speakers informative and inspiring. Thank you all for participating and for supporting Fundamental Change and its mission. We hope to see you all again next year. Thank you.